Happy New Year! Welcome to 2024. New Year means new movies on the horizon. So today, we're setting our sights towards the future and deciding which movies excite us the most. My name is Ren, and this is my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2024. Welcome back, film family. Thank you for joining me. We haven't spoken since last year. It's a brand new day in a brand new year, so for our first video, it feels only right to look forward to what we believe will be the best, the movies that excite us the most. But it isn't just about how I feel towards the future, it's about you starting the conversation with the films that excite you the most heading in to 2024. But before I get started with the official list, I do have a few honorable mentions. And kicking right off from my favorite movie of 2023, John Wick Chapter 4, I'm very much looking forward to Ballerina starring Ana de Armas. We only really know it takes place between the two best movies in the franchise, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, and John Wick Chapter 4. Now, this film would be ever so slightly higher if the first John Wick spin-off we got this past year, The Continental, was any good, which it wasn't. Next up, we have Furiosa, and this film is an honorable mention just because I fell in love with the trailer. I'm just not the biggest fan of the Mad Max franchise as a whole. This trailer excites me because it has all the production value, and this time, it looks like it has a story. Wicked excites me tremendously. I love the stage musical. It is one of the greatest productions I've ever seen, with great music and a refreshing perspective on the Wizard of Oz story. However, we are only getting part 1 this year. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is the first film of the franchise to make it onto an honorable mentions list of my own, just because of that shadow post-credit scene. This is my favorite character in the entire Sonic franchise. I always play with him whenever I played Sonic Advance, Sonic Battle, Shadow the Hedgehog. Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 is a film that just about misses my official top 10, if only because we don't have an official trailer for it. I wish I could push this one to the top, but I just need to know a little bit more. Argyle is Matthew Vaughn's new spy cape, but what intrigues me the most is all the secrecy surrounding this film. Who wrote it? Who wrote the book that it's based on that is not even out yet before the film even comes out? I have a lot of information about this film. I know someone who went to a test screening and got to see the credits, and everything is revealed about it. And I love how the marketing is making this whole mystery of the behind-the-scenes aspect into the mystery within the story of the film itself. A Quiet Place Day 1 might have just landed on my top 10 if we only had an official trailer for it. I am very intrigued about how they expand on this universe of what is essentially two of my favorite horror films of all time. Transformers 1, the first cinematic animated Transformers movie ever since the '87 classic. It's got an incredible voice cast. The people who saw a sneak peek of it at CinemaCon last year say it's great. Godzilla x Kong: A New Empire. Do I even need to explain why I'm excited for it? Look what's surrounding me. I am so into this balls to the wall, all out monster mash. However, Godzilla Minus One just set the bar very high for kaiju movies. This is my cheat meal when it comes to cinema. For my final honorable mention, Saw 11. Now, if you know me, you know Saw is my horror franchise. It is the franchise I grew up with, the one I latched onto, and the one I always fall back into. I have not adored Saw for a while, and Saw X was one of the biggest surprises I had in 2023. Those are all the honorable mentions. Let's get started with number 10. Civil War kicks off my top 10, and this is a movie that a few years back would probably have landed higher just because I adore the trailer so much. It is from Alex Garland, but since then, he does not have a spotless track record for me. I was so disappointed in that film because it's a film with a very strong message, striking visuals that just stick with you, and it has a lot of important things to say, and it says them in a booming, loud, distinct voice. Civil War feels like it's doing the exact same thing on a much bigger scale. This is the biggest looking film of Alex Garland's career. The scope of it, it's coming out on the year of elections, so it's a movie that's going to get people talking for better or worse. Now, like I said, because I wasn't a big fan of how the message was conveyed through the storytelling in Men, I'm afraid of how he conveys his messaging in this film because it's very much such a much bolder statement speaking to such a larger demographic, and it feels so much more aggressive visually, narratively, thematically. There is just so much packed into this. So you know people are going to be talking about this film. A lot of them might already make their minds up about it even before seeing it. To me, it really is about that execution because from that spectacular trailer, the violence that is not only literal, visually clear from it, but the one that is implied, the downfall of an entire nation, and it's very specifically being brought out this year. There's just so much about this film that excites me, but those exact same elements are exactly what can tear it down and make the experience absolutely sour. Love Lies Bleeding is an intriguing one. The reasons I'm about to give you as to why I'm excited for it will probably come across as reasons for me personally not to be excited. I was not the biggest fan of Rose Glass's Saint Maud. I watched the trailer for this film, so frenetic, so many moving pieces to it. It's so filled with intrigue and all its story threads. I don't know what the story is about. I have no idea, but the cast really excites me. The look of it feels distinct and unique. It just looks like something I've never seen before. It feels like a movie straight out of the 90s but made with today's sensibilities. I feel so invested in the story. I feel I want to learn more. It elicits that curiosity. It's got Ed Harris, one of my favorite actors, Kristen Stewart, who should have won an Oscar about 2 years ago, Katie O'Brien, one of the biggest rising stars, and it's got pulpiness to it. It's a crime thriller. I don't get what is going on. So coming from a director I've not been a big fan of thus far, a story I don't get what it's trying to say, what it's trying to do, and yet it's got me hooked onto it. Biggest reason why I'm excited, this is an A24 movie. And in case you don't know, I'm from the UK, where A24 releases are constantly fucked. We get A24 releases so much later than everyone else, or we just don't get them at all. And yet, miraculously, Love Lies Bleeding is already coming out in April in the UK, only 3 months after its Sundance debut. Paddington in Peru. Paddington 3 is finally coming out, which means this year, the pantheon of greatest trilogies in cinema history might have a brand new edition if it is anywhere near as good as the first two films. I know what you're thinking right now. Ren, how dare you have Paddington 3 so low on your list? I hope by the end of the year, I'm telling you, number one best movie of 2024, Paddington in Peru. The one reason why this movie is not anywhere higher on this list, it's actually two reasons. Number one, it's not being directed by Paul King. Paul King is not delivering Paddington 3 to us. Number two, and it's kind of the same reason, it's more of a 1.1 reason. I just saw a new Paul King movie, and it reminded me how good he is at delivering such a pure-hearted experience that is unapologetically whimsy and silly, and it has a story to tell about the power of kindness. And this is the guy that delivered the first two Paddington to us, the guy who is not directing Paddington in Peru. We're going to shed tears. We're going to share laughs. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be as beautiful as the first two, because those first two movies, especially Paddington 2, those are masterpieces, my friends. Do not ever forget and do not ever deny that fact. The Fall Guy falls on number 7 just because I always have to represent my boy Ryan Gosling in one of these yearly lists. I have officially retired of the doubting David Leitch business. After Deadpool 3, after Bullet Train, after Hobbs and Shaw, the man always delivers great fun action with this bombastic energy, and it honestly feels like he gets better every single time. Bullet Train, which I just recently rewatched, is an infectiously energetic film filled with adrenaline, memorable characters, memorable interactions, memorable action set pieces, fantastic choreography, stunning visuals, and the Fall Guy looks like it's delivering that. And adding an actor the caliber of Ryan Gosling to that mix, who can believably pull off drama, comedy, romance, action in a film with this aesthetic, with this quality of filmmakers and storytellers in front and behind the camera, and it is a movie about making movies. I cannot tell you how much of a sucker I am for that. A stuntman that is in love with the director of this film and then stumbles upon a criminal conspiracy while trying to find the actual actor he's doubling for. I love all these shenanigans. Give it to me. Inside Out 2, a movie I wish I could place higher on this list. A movie I'm extremely worried about its box office potential just because of the damage Disney has caused to the Pixar brand in the last few years. However, it is a sequel to one of their most successful, most beloved, and most special movies that Pixar has ever delivered. It is not directed by Pete Docter this time, but it feels like the natural progression, the natural expansion for the story that we have all connected with for so many different reasons. The first Inside Out is absolutely one of my favorite Pixar movies. It always emotionally resonates. It's an extremely special movie, and introducing that bastard that I know so well, anxiety, to this film, I cannot wait how they explore that and explore puberty in that fantastical Pixar way that has made them such a household name. I hope this is the thing they bounce back with. Not just in terms of quality, and I fall in love with another Pixar movie because it's been a while, but also the success they deserve. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is very lucky they put out such an incredible looking trailer for it. Otherwise, it would have probably missed this list. Wes Ball is not a household director, at least just yet. The Maze Runner franchise is not one of the most successful YA franchises. However, what has always stood out about those movies for me was definitely not the writing, it was the direction by Wes Ball. On top of that, Wes Ball has just been offered the live-action Zelda movie, which means Universal and the producers of that film have seen more than we have of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and they thought, yes, this is the guy. That's what gets me excited, on top of being a big fan of the previous trilogy, mostly directed by Matt Reeves. Dawn for the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes. They are both fantastic movies. It's a trilogy that literally has surpassed any of the other films. It just feels like a natural expansion of this world that we want to see more of. It's not starting from the bottom, but it's keeping enough distance from it where if Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes sucks, that trilogy, it's still its own thing. Caesar's story is still sacred and it's revered even in this world. Challengers sits just outside our top 3, a movie I nearly forgot to include in this top 10 list because I'm so pissed that it was about to premiere as the opening film at last year's Venice Film Festival, and then it was delayed because of the strikes. But I am so in love with this trailer. It's a tennis movie, but it includes a love triangle, and it's about relationships and corruption and how that gets in the way of your professional life and all those egos and larger life personalities and the obsession with victory and being the best and how that gets in people's way. And what's so electrifying about all this, it's how all these relationships are intertwined, and you intercut that with the tennis matches, at least how they're cut in the trailer, and they're edited like a fight scene. It's so frenetic. It is so violent. Feels like it's people trying to kill each other in that tennis court. It is one of the best filmmakers working today, Luca Guadagnino. It's a frisky movie. It's an action-packed movie. It's a romance movie. Things are going to get rated R, and I'm excited for it. Before we dive into my top 3 most anticipated movies of 2024, don't forget to start the conversation in the comments below with your most anticipated movies of the year. Anything I missed, anything I should be on the lookout for, and any of the movies I didn't get on my list, do you think I'm crazy for not doing so? If you're enjoying this list, I do many of these videos every single year, at the end of each year, at the beginning of each year. You can find those right up here. And if you want to talk more movies and TV with me, this is the place to be. Consider clicking that subscribe button, and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Nosferatu at number 3, when I've been saying so many movies didn't make it into this list because we don't quite have a trailer yet. I know, but listen, I am yet to not love a Robert Eggers movie. The Witch is my second favorite horror movie of all time. The Lighthouse is incredible. The Northman is one of the most violent, most epic films I have seen that climaxes with 2 naked Vikings fighting in a volcano. What do you think he's gonna do with a vampire movie? Everything about this movie looks so exciting to me, even though we've only had brief glimpses of it. We have a couple of pictures, we heard a few of the descriptions. This is the movie Robert Eggers has been working his entire career to make. This is his passion project. When you have a director with such a distinct vision of horror with The Witch, of mythology with The Lighthouse, of an epic with The Northman, whatever he could possibly do with the most classic monster in cinematic history, he's gonna do it. They're gonna give him free reign to do it. On top of that, it's a fantastic cast. I love that we have no idea what his Nosferatu actually looks like, and I cannot wait to experience it in the darkest cinema possible, in the absolute deadliest of silence. Deadpool 3, aka the only MCU movie of 2024, aka the only comic book movie on this list, aka the only comic book movie I'm excited for, and yet I just know someone is gonna come in here and say I'm a Marvel shell. What intrigues me the most, besides loving the original Deadpool, really liking Deadpool 2, bringing Hugh Jackman back, that's the obvious reason. I love the potential of how this film is gonna play around with its own continuity, coming into the MCU, bringing these 2 specific versions of the character, how this movie's gonna bid farewell to the Fox universe. We perhaps have seen a little bit too many leaked set pictures. Like, I don't want to see too much more, but everything we've heard about the ideas going into this film, and on top of that, Sean Levy is one of the most underrated directors working today. He always brings this earnest heart to his movies, always this Spielbergian quality in how pure he can be with his most emotional and sincere moments between characters. You look at his movies, and whatever faults they have, the drama in it, the relationships are always the best part. And I think he can bring that to this film while juxtaposing that with his first rated R movie. We know there's gotta be something happening with Deadpool as a character. What is his own personal journey here as he's finally being united with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine on the big screen? Dune Part 2 is at this point becoming the new Top Gun Maverick on this channel. A long awaited sequel that keeps getting delayed and every year makes it on to my most anticipated list. It feels like this time is for real, and it's coming out on March, right around for my birthday, which I am very excited for. I would have loved, much more preferred, to have gotten it in November, but if we're gonna delay it, let it come out in March, because that's the best month of the year. I'm a big sci-fi guy. I'm a big Denis Villeneuve guy. I adore the first Dune. It was my favorite film of 2021, and this film feels naturally the second part of that story. Where many people felt the first Dune didn't tell a complete story. I felt like it did enough to be a chapter unto itself while also clearly belonging to a bigger story in itself that brings things to a more satisfying conclusion. It better defines the world, the mythology, the relationships between characters, and it sets up what we hope to see Denis Villeneuve conclude with Dune Messiah. And I think we have a really great shot at getting that trilogy caper. And if the reactions I've seen to these trailers from people on YouTube, my friend circles, us movie fanatics, and even general movie audiences are anything to go by, this film is going to make bank. People are excited for thinking man sci-fi on a complete massive scale. The way Denis Villeneuve explores scale and the epic scope of this story feels like nothing we have ever seen before. This is the film Denis Villeneuve has been working his entire career to make, and I couldn't be happier that we are here in this moment with hopefully no more delays to finally witness his vision unveiled to us all. And those are my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2024. Thank you so much for watching, Film Family. Don't forget, share your lists in the comments below. Did I miss anything obvious? Am I crazy for including any of these movies in my list? Would you change the order of any of them? Start the conversation down there. Big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel, which you can become one if you want. Link in the description. And I'll be back very soon with more most anticipated movie lists for comic book movies. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.